This is the exact system that we used to generate over $1 million a year before I turned 21 years old for our screen printing shop. First, I'll show you guys the exact traffic sources where we got leads. Next, I'll show you guys where we stored the leads, what CRM we used, and what nurturing sequences that we send to them, and what automations did we have in place. After that, I'll show you guys what marketing metrics that I tracked every single day. And next, I'll show you guys what the sales team structure was and exactly how we did all the fulfillment while I was a full-time student in school. If you're new to this channel, we help screen printing shops build more profitable businesses using the same exact strategies that we used. So right off the bat, the first traffic source that we had was paid ads. We spent $100 per day on average for Facebook ads. That means some days we spent more, other days we spent less. But on average, we spent $100 per day on ads. Second, we had Google ads. Same exact thing. We spent $100 per day on Google ads. Both, sometimes we spent more, sometimes we spent less. Lastly, we spent $199 per month on SEO. We found a person in Bangladesh to set up all of our SEO. But what we did was, instead of doing SEO just in our local area, we found the 4 most busiest cities that had the heaviest search volume for custom apparel in my state, which was Massachusetts, and I claimed all those places and I ranked really high. So, for example, I lived around Boston area. I also ran ads in the middle of Massachusetts, but not necessarily ads. Instead, we owned the local listing. So what that means is, if someone in Worcester, which is 2 hours, or which is about an hour away from Boston, if someone looked up custom screen printing, we still showed up, even though our shop was not in Worcester. All this together here, all those traffic sources generated on average 350 leads per day. That means we were getting 2,000 different contacts per week, just from paid ads. Now, if I were to do it again, I would only do this and just focus on that. But I'll show you guys the other traffic sources that we also used. So again, looking back at it now, I would only do paid ads because it makes it very simple. And I also know how to do it, so it's less risky. However, what we also did was we had inbound Instagram and inbound YouTube. And what that means is we're posting a lot of content, but it was done strategically so we can get leads. We didn't care too much for likes, views. We were looking for leads so that we can get sales. So on Instagram, what we followed was we posted 1 time per day, and we posted at a minimum 3 stories per day. Now, the way we did this was we systematized it so we don't have to think about what to post. It's more important to be consistent than to post occasionally, okay? So the first story of the day was always a poll. What we found was if people interacted with your stories and clicked on your poll, they're more likely to see your post the next time around. I don't know if that's still the case, but that's what we did. Second, I posted whatever I was working on. If I was in front of a machine, I'll take a picture of that. If I was working on mock-ups, artwork, whatever it is, I'll take a picture of that. If I was on a sales call with a different company to do their shirts, I would record that and take that as a picture. That would be number 2. Lastly, I would always post a lead magnet with a call to action. For example, if you're a business owner and you want a free shirt, DM me right now. They DM you. Or if you are a part of a charity and you need free designs for your organization, shoot me a message, I'll help you. That's what we did, and we got at least 20 leads per day. What I found after working with a ton of print shops, they don't even get 20 leads per week. So we also posted on YouTube. So if you go back on this channel, we deleted a lot of the YouTube videos, but what we left behind was just a few vlogs, and those vlogs generated leads as well. What we found was people who wanted custom screen printing, if they looked us up, they also found our YouTube videos. Next, this is Outbound. So what Outbound is, it's reaching out to different people. This is where we had actually the most employees. So what we did was, in terms of staff, for the traffic sources and the ads, I ran all the media buying, I bought all the ads, I did all the split testing. For the inbound stuff, right, posting content, I filmed the ads, I scheduled the ads, and then it just posted on its own. So I did these 2 things here. Looking back at it, I could have taken myself out of here. However, I don't know how good the media buying would have been if I didn't do it myself. So for Outbound, this is the most simple direct response marketing as possible. So we'll start off with this. Instagram DMs, at a minimum, we sent 100 Instagram DMs per day. So what that means is we had one person sit on the phone and DM people all day long. If you imagine digitizers emailing you, DMing you, asking you if you need artwork done, we did the same thing, but to business owners. And we did it without being annoying because we always went to them with a free lead magnet. And that's how we got their attention. Next, we were in the Facebook groups. So we had another person, they spent all day in Facebook groups. So if we wanted to go after contractors, we were inside Facebook groups with contractors. I also started a local Facebook group and had all these local business owners all in one Facebook group. Now, if you're trying to go after people in Facebook groups, the last thing you want to do is post saying who here wants custom apparel, because they're probably going to get banned and kicked out of that group. To work Facebook groups, all you have to do, for example, if I'm going after roofing companies, I would go in the contractor group and say, who here is a good roofer? Who here knows a good roofer? They put all their contact information there. I reach out to them in the DMs and provide value first, and then I invite them to getting a quote. That simple. So for example, if you own a roofing company, here are some awesome designs for roofers, blah, blah, blah. Could I mock up your logo on some shirts? Boom, that's it. That's all we had to do. So Facebook groups and Instagram DMs, we had to send out at least 100 per day. Next, cold email had the heaviest staff load. It required 3 people, but I was the 3rd. So 2 people here. The first person here, all she did was respond to emails. So we sent out at least 1,200 emails per day, and that's a lot of emails per month. Well over 30,000 emails per month. We had 60 emails. Each email account sent out 30 emails. We sent out almost 30,000 emails, and what we did was we structured it with 2 people. First, we had the inbox manager. Her job is to respond to all the emails. Next, we had the lead sourcer. Their job was to source new leads every single day. Because the send volume was so high, his job was just getting people's emails. Now, the person who actually wrote the emails was me. I wrote every single email. We put it into a sending software. We used Instantly, but before that we used Lemlist. Personally, I like Instantly. I don't like Lemlist. Next, we cold called all these local businesses. So to get more business, we had one person on the phones all day long. Their job was to make $100 per day. The nice thing is all the staff here was sourced from overseas. So realistically, instead of having one full-time person in the United States, we had a huge team located in the Philippines. They're awesome. Love the Philippines. Next, we took all the leads here and we moved them to one centralized CRM, which is the relationship management software where we have all the leads. So we have their phone number, email, names. All of that is centralized and stored in a hub, because if you don't have a centralized hub, you're gonna lose all these leads very fast, and it's like a leaking bucket. Storing them all into a centralized CRM allows us to know where they are in the buyer's journey. So what that looks like here is, if we've got ads, we use Zapier and zapped all the leads into the CRM. These guys, we had our team fill out a form, and the form shot them to our CRM. Same thing with all this. At the end of the day, we import all those guys into our centralized CRM. In our CRM, we had multiple pipelines. The main pipeline allowed me to have a clear pulse on where all the sales are coming from and when the next sale is probably gonna come. So we had 4 different sections. We had new lead, quote request, quote sent, and sale made. That's all I cared about. Now, if we have a bunch of new leads and not enough quote requests, then I reallocate our resources to getting more quotes. If you have a bunch of quotes but no sales, that needs somebody out there to start closing these deals. Once we have all these leads into a centralized CRM, we had automations in place to nurture these leads. As we help all these different print shops, one, they don't have a CRM, so it's very hard to organize all these leads because everything's stuck in your head. Think about it, if you're sick and you can't go to work one day, what happens to all the leads? Or say, you don't want to touch the leads anymore, how will you ever hand it off without a system in place? Next, we had automations in place. So if you were in the new lead status, our goal was to move you to quote request, which means you've requested a quote from us. To do this, we had a new lead nurturing sequence. You would get 7 emails, 1 email every day for the first week. Then you have 1 text message every day for the first week. And you also got 14 phone calls for the first week. We call you in the morning, call you at night, do that every day for the first 7 days. We stop when you answer and get a quote, or we stop when you pay us. So we keep on doing that, and we don't care if people get mad, because if you lead with value, you're providing such a great service, why do you feel bad reaching out to people? Next, if they didn't answer here, we switched the cadence from every day to once a week. After that, it was once a month. Every single month, we did a one-time offer, which is the end of the month special. So over time, we had like 10, 20, 30, we had thousands of emails, and we were just emailing them once a month. And that always got some sales. Now, if you don't have all these guys stored somewhere, again, it's like a leaking bucket and you can never cash it in. After we got them to request a quote, this was the SOP in place for every single salesperson. We called it the quote to present, or AKA the quote and close. So what I wanted people to do was call to present the quote. If you didn't call to present the quote, the chances of you closing the deal is a lot lower. And it also cuts out a lot of the back and forth. Just hop on the phone, talk to them, clarify what they want, quote them, and close them. All right, so the call to present the quote, what we did was we had a step-by-step process so that any salesperson can come in the business and follow these steps. What the steps were was step one, you follow the script. So you call them and follow the script, you confirm all the details with them, you present the quote, and then you close them. Either you collect the full payment or you collect a small deposit. Once you collect the small deposits, we save that, so when we verify all the details, we charge the card. After that, if we call them and they don't answer, we keep on texting them. It's just like the new lead sequence. We do the same thing. We text them every day for the first week, we email them every day for the first week, and we call them twice a day for the first week until they pay our quote. All right, we want them to pay the quotes because that's what pays the bills. It doesn't matter if your presses are running if you have no sales coming in. After that, if they do pay us, we invite them to a branding consultation that usually costs $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Instead, I'm gonna give it to you for free because you bought some shirts today. On this branding consultation, what we do is we walk you through all these different designs, all these possible items. We show them promotional products, we show them all these different things, and then at the end of the call, we sell them promotional products. Just as a quick recap, the first 5 things here, the 5-step process to closing more deals that our sales team followed was 1, you have to follow the script. Number 2, you quote and close them at the same time. And lastly, if they don't answer that, what you want to do is follow the follow-up sequence. 7 emails, 7 texts, 14 calls. The texts and emails are automated, the call is called. After that, once they pay us, invite them to the branding consultation where we upsell them more products. Now, since we had so many different traffic sources, we tracked them all differently. So in terms of the CRM, at first we used Google Sheets. Everything was populated into a Google Sheet. I didn't know anything about CRMs. Then I found out there's software to store all of these leads. And then I used HubSpot. HubSpot is where we stored all these leads. There's 1,000 different versions. Just use one, it doesn't matter what you use. But what matters was we tracked all the impressions, all the marketing metrics on a Google Sheet. So I can tell you at any day, I can tell you what we spent, how many leads we generated, what the impressions were, how many people clicked on the ads, etc. So for the paid ads versus the inbound versus the outbound, we tracked different things, but it's very similar. So for the paid ads, just like in our other videos, we tracked impressions to click, click to opt-in, opt-in to quote, quote to sale, and sale to resell. How many people bought once and how many people bought again. After that, we had outbound metrics. So when we were doing outbound, which is DMs, cold emails, cold calls, what that looks like is how many messages did we send, how many messages were opened. Out of all those messages that were opened, how many replied? Out of all the replies, how many turned into quotes? Out of all those quotes, how many turned into sales? Out of all those sales, how many turned into resells? Now for the inbound messages like Facebook groups and these things up here, right? What we did was out of all the messages that we sent, how many were seen? Out of all those seen, how many replied? Out of all the replies, how many quoted? How many quotes? Sales and a sale to resell. For the inbound metrics, this one's right here, right? We post out call to actions, but we also DM all the new followers. We comment on people's pictures and we reply to all the comments and we reply to all the DMs. That's where the lead came from. Now for SEO, we looked at domain authority and also local traffic. So people looked us up and found us organically. If you download Google Analytics, you can find all that data. Lastly, the sales team. This is how we structure the sales team. During this process here, you have what's called a churn for your sales team. So people join you and then they leave. On average, we had 4 sales reps. 1, 2, 3, 4. The first 3 sales reps, we had them focus on B2B sales, which is essentially all this stuff here, or custom orders rather. And then we had the last sales rep, all he did was online stores. So the online store specialist, if you call him that, he had another assistant tied to him. So the way this guy worked was he would collect all the details from the coaches, the churches, the schools, the organizations, grab all the details, send it to the virtual assistant, send it to the assistant, and the assistant herself will create the actual online store. So if I'm the sales rep, my job is to shake as many hands as possible and make friends. And then I grab all the details, I send it to her, I keep on talking, she texts me the link, I give the link back to the coach, and I take the coach through a rigorous onboarding process so that we can guarantee that that coach sells enough stuff. For the other 3 guys, their job is to work these leads and shake as many hands as possible with these leads. You want to call and follow up your pipeline. And what happens was these guys, their job was to grab all their details, send it back to the EA, which is like our main executive assistant. Her job was to essentially do all the mock-ups, These guys can quote too if they have time, but what I found was it was easier over time just to have one person quote. But her job was to enter in all the quotes, send the quotes out, and then give the status update to the sales rep. So in a way, all sales reps had an assistant as well. So their job was to call, follow up, close. The EA did all the mock-ups, they did all the ordering on SNS Activewear, they called clients for missing details. So for example, we close a deal, we don't know the sizes, or there's a shortage, or we don't know what to do because there's 50 hoodies, some of them are different colors. If there's any missing details, the EA calls the leads, calls the client, and verifies the discrepancy and gets them to sign off on it. Once they sign off on it, then she moves the order to production. Once the order is in production, we ship it out to the contract shop and we close the deal from there. For artwork, she was also responsible for sending the mock-ups, not necessarily making the mock-ups. We had another assistant. He did all the artwork. So he did the vectoring, he did the digitizing, he did the mock-ups. That was this guy's job. So if one of the sales reps needed a mock-up to close a deal, message this person gets it from them, and it goes back to the sales rep. Now, once the order's all set, orders paid, signed off, mock-ups are good to go, we send everything to the contract shop, SNS Activewear straight to the contract shops, we send them the art files and go straight to the contract shop. We didn't have to deal with production anymore because for the first 2.5 years of college, I drove home every weekend. I lived 2 hours away from my college. So on Friday, after classes, I drove home. That day, I'd burn all the screens for all the jobs. Over the weekend, I'd wake up Saturday at like 2 in the morning and I'd print shirts all the way to Sunday at midnight, which is essentially Monday morning. I'd finish around 1 or 2. I drove back to UMass Amherst, which is 2 hours away. I leave my house at 2. I get back to school at 4 and then had ROTC, which is like an army training thing, at 5 or 6. And we had to go run a few miles. So I was pretty miserable throughout the first 2 years of college. I ended up selling all of our equipment. I bought a house at UMass and I just built this whole system out. And then we did business this way. We contracted out all the work, either to our contract shop. If I couldn't find, if it was a special item like promo products, we were in ASI, PPAI. And lastly, we also used Alibaba to fulfill certain orders that we cannot fulfill. This right here was the process. And we had meetings in between classes and it was very chaotic and very busy, but this is what works. Now, if I were to do it again, I would probably scratch a lot of the outbound stuff and just focus on this right here. Because if I thought about it more, all I had to do was cut all the payroll here, cut all the software, and just turn this number higher, and we would have got more leads that way. But that's what I would have done. I would have focused just in paid ads because I knew how to do it after. Once I figured it out, you might as well just keep on doing it. I would still do the inbound, still keep on posting content. The only adjustment I would make is I would wipe this out. Less things to worry about, less people to train and manage, and then more money in ads where we didn't have to train anybody. If you realize there's less humans to deal with right here, and that's why I would get rid of the outbound stuff. Any questions, just comment down below. If you want us to help you set this stuff up, book a call down below. That's what our company does now. We help print shops build more profitable businesses.